Hey guys, and tonight we're ringing in the new year the only way medieval Europe knew how. Loudly, unhygienically, and with a level of confidence that suggests nobody involved has any idea what year it actually is. This is not the champagne and fireworks New Year you're used to. This is the bang pots in the street, scream at evil spirits, accidentally drink something fermented New Year. So before we get started, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy this sort of thing. Leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Statistically, it's late, you're tired, and your phone is about to fall on your face. Now dim the lights, turn on a fan or some white noise, get comfortable, and maybe stretch out like you're not about to mentally time travel into a drafty stone building. Let's ask a few important questions. Why did medieval people celebrate the New Year on completely different dates? Why did grown adults dress like animals and chase each other through villages? Why was food both the centerpiece of celebration and a genuine medical threat? And how did everyone survive winter with no heating, no vitamins, and no clear plan? Congratulations. You've just woken up in medieval Europe. It's New Year's Day. You don't know what year it is, but you're expected to celebrate anyway. You wake up and immediately sense something is wrong, because everyone is celebrating the new year, and it is absolutely not January 1st. In medieval Europe, the new year could start in March, September, Easter, or whenever someone important decided it should. You nod politely and pretend this makes sense, like you're at a meeting where everyone understands the spreadsheet, except you. You sit up slowly, because sitting up too fast in medieval Europe feels risky, and listen to the sounds outside. There's laughter, bells, someone yelling something celebratory that sounds suspiciously like a complaint. You look around, hoping for a calendar, a phone notification, anything that confirms reality. There is nothing, just straw, wood, and a faint smell of last night's fire. Apparently, it's New Year. Again. Here's the problem. In this time period, time itself is more of a suggestion. Different regions start the year on different days. Some say March 25th, the feast of the Annunciation, because it feels spiritually tidy. Others prefer Easter, which moves around every year just to keep things interesting. Some stick with January 1st, but nobody trusts them. Dates are written down, crossed out, rewritten, and quietly argued over for centuries. You are living inside a bureaucratic shrug. So when someone tells you it's a new year, you don't ask which one. That's rude. You just accept it. You smile. You say something non-committal, like, of course. This is a survival skill. Asking follow-up questions only leads to theology, local politics, and a headache. You step outside and notice that everyone seems confident. This is the most alarming part. People are celebrating with absolute certainty, even though half the village would give you a different answer if you asked what year it actually is. One man insists it's the year of our Lord 14-something. Another says no, that was last week. A third says it doesn't matter as long as the crops grow and nobody gets sick. This confusion is normal. Records are inconsistent. Birthdays are estimates. Ages are vibes. You might be 35. You might be 42. Either way, your knees hurt, so the distinction feels academic. The idea of January 1st as a universal reset is still centuries away. Right now, the year begins when it feels right. When the church says so, when the Lord says so, when winter finally loosens its grip and people emotionally decide they've had enough. It's less a calendar event and more a group agreement to move on. You try to imagine explaining this to your modern self. Imagine telling someone today that the new year might be in March, unless Easter interferes, in which case we'll circle back. Imagine scheduling meetings like this. Imagine taxes. You feel a deep gratitude for standardized time, even as you miss the chaos slightly. But here, the lack of clarity does something interesting. It lowers expectations. If nobody knows exactly what day it is, nobody expects precision. Deadlines are flexible. Promises are vague. The future is fuzzy. And somehow, that makes celebrating easier. You don't need a countdown. You don't need fireworks at midnight. You just need enough people to agree that something new has begun. So you go along with it. You clap when others clap. You accept a mug of something warm and fermented. You wish someone a happy new year without specifying which one. It feels strangely freeing, like time has loosened its grip on you for a moment. And when the celebration eventually winds down, and someone casually mentions a different date than the one you heard earlier, you don't correct them. You just nod again. Because in medieval Europe, the New Year isn't a date. It's a feeling. Mon tu, miemons, bad luck, and possibly that one neighbor who never returns borrowed tools. No one is subtle about it. Children are given objects specifically chosen for maximum noise potential. Old pots that no longer cook evenly suddenly have a second career. Someone drags out a cracked bell that sounds like it's in pain and rings it anyway because pain is apparently persuasive to the supernatural. You are handed something heavy and instructed to hit something else. No rules are given. This is not a performance. This is a defensive ritual. You swing with commitment because half-hearted deterrence feels irresponsible. The shouting starts soon after. Words don't matter as much as volume. Some people yell prayers, others yell warnings. A few just yell. It's unclear who exactly is being addressed, but the message is clear. Not tonight. This village is occupied. The noise isn't random, it's timed. Midnight matters, even if nobody agrees what day it is. Midnight is the moment between. The old year is leaving, the new one is arriving, and that gap is considered dangerous. That's when things slip through. That's when bad luck gets ideas. So you make noise to fill the space. You leave no silence for misfortune to hide in. It's oddly reassuring, like yelling at your computer when it freezes. It doesn't technically help, but it feels necessary. From a modern perspective, this looks unhinged. Imagine your entire neighborhood pouring into the street at midnight to scream and bang cookware, all in the name of spiritual security. Police would be called, noise complaints would be filed, group chats would explode. Here, it's expected. If you didn't come outside, people would worry, or judge you, or assume you were possessed. You notice that everyone looks relieved, even as they're making a racket. There's laughter mixed in with the shouting, smiles between clangs. This is communal stress relief, disguised as exorcism. Everyone had a long year. Everyone survived something. Tonight, they get to be loud about it. There is also a practical side to this tradition. Noise wakes people up. It pulls everyone into the moment. No one sleeps through the new year by accident. You are present, whether you like it or not. Eventually, the sound reaches a peak. The bells are ringing like they're being paid by the swing. Pots dent further. Voices crack. And then, slowly, it fades. The demons, presumably terrified and deeply offended, have fled. A quiet settles in, heavier because of what came before. People breathe. They laugh softly now, Someone pats you on the shoulder like you did a good job defending reality. You stand there, ears ringing, heart steady, realizing something important. For all its chaos, this was structured, purposeful, a shared agreement that the new year would not arrive quietly. And honestly, after the year you've had, neither should you. As night falls, the village erupts into noise. Pots are banged, bells are rung, and shouting is encouraged. This is not celebration. It's pest control for evil spirits. You participate enthusiastically because nobody wants to be the reason demons move in. It's like setting off fireworks, except louder and with more superstition. You step outside just as the sun fully gives up, and the sound hits you all at once. Metal on metal, wood on iron. A bell being rung with the personal intensity of someone who has waited all year for this moment. The idea is simple and deeply comforting. Loud noises scare away anything invisible and malicious that might be lurking nearby, waiting to sneak into the new year with you. Spirits, demons, bad luck, and possibly that one neighbor who never returns borrowed tools. No one is subtle about it. Children are given objects specifically chosen for maximum noise potential. Old pots that no longer cook evenly suddenly have a second career. Someone drags out a cracked bell that sounds like it's in pain and rings it anyway because pain is apparently persuasive to the supernatural. You are handed something heavy and instructed to hit something else. No rules are given. This is not a performance. This is a defensive ritual. You swing with commitment because half-hearted demon deterrence feels irresponsible. The shouting starts soon after. Words don't matter as much as volume. Some people yell prayers, others yell warnings, a few just yell. It's unclear who exactly is being addressed, but the message is clear: not tonight. This village is occupied. The noise isn't random. It's timed. Midnight matters, even if nobody agrees what day it is. Midnight is the moment between. The old year is leaving. The new one is arriving. And that gap is considered dangerous. That's when things slip through. That's when bad luck gets ideas. So you make noise to fill the space. You leave no silence for misfortune to hide in. It's oddly reassuring, like yelling at your computer when it freezes. It doesn't technically help, but it feels necessary. From a modern perspective, this looks unhinged. Imagine your entire neighborhood pouring into the street at midnight to scream and bang cookware, all in the name of spiritual security. Police would be called, noise complaints would be filed, group chats would explode. Here, it's expected. If you didn't come outside, people would worry, or judge you, or assume you were possessed. You notice that everyone looks relieved, even as they're making a racket. There's laughter mixed in with the shouting, smiles between clangs. This is communal stress relief, disguised as exorcism. Everyone had a long year. Everyone survived something. Tonight, they get to be loud about it. There is also a practical side to this tradition. Noise wakes people up. It pulls everyone into the moment. No one sleeps through the new year by accident. You are present whether you like it or not. Eventually, the sound reaches a peak. The bells are ringing like they're being paid by the swing. Pots dent further. Voices crack. And then slowly, it fades. The demons, presumably terrified and deeply offended, have fled. A quiet settles in, heavier because of what came before. People breathe. They laugh softly now. Someone pats you on the shoulder like you did a good job defending reality. You stand there, ears ringing, heart steady, realizing something important. For all its chaos, this was structured, purposeful, a shared agreement that the new year would not arrive quietly. And honestly, after the year you've had, neither should you. Torches blaze everywhere, bonfires crackle, and sparks float into the winter air. Fire represents cleansing and renewal, but it also represents a very real chance that something important will catch fire. You stand close enough to feel warm, but far enough to keep your eyebrows. This is the balance you learn quickly in medieval life. Fire is not a cozy background feature. Fire is a relationship must. It warms you, feeds you, protects you, and, if offended, removes entire neighborhood. Tonight, though, it's festive. Flames lick the dark sky in careful piles, watched closely by people who understand tick, not to improve it, but to feel involved. Another person tosses something symbolic into the flames, an old shoe, a bundle of herbs, a scrap of cloth, because burning objects feels productive when you don't have a calendar. The fire crackles loudly, like it's also participating in the celebration. Sparks drift upward, carrying wishes, prayers, and the occasional regret. Fire is believed to purify the old year, to burn away illness, bad luck, and whatever that weird tension was back in autumn. You stare into the flames and feel like they're staring back, evaluating you. You inch closer for warmth. Winter is not gentle, and layers only do so much. But you don't get greedy. You've seen what happens when someone leans in too far. Cloaks are flammable. Hair is optimistic. Fire does not negotiate. Children are warned repeatedly not to run. They run anyway. Adults watch them with the resigned calm of people who know lessons are sometimes learned the smoky way. Someone tells a story about a village that celebrated too enthusiastically and had to rebuild half of itself by spring. Everyone nods solemnly and steps back half a foot. Fire also carries social meaning. Standing near it places you within the circle of community. Outsiders linger at the edges, cold and encrusted. You make sure you're visible, hands outstretched, face glowing orange, looking like someone who belongs and should not be hexed. In some places, people jump over small fires for luck. This is meant to ensure health and fertility, which feels like a lot to ask of a controlled leap. You watch a few attempts. Some are graceful, some are alarming. Everyone pretends not to notice the ones that end with frantic patting and laughter that's slightly too loud. From a modern perspective, this feels reckless. Open flames, loose clothing, no fire department, and exactly one bucket of water that may or may not be frozen. But here, fire is familiar. It's been part of daily life forever. People respect it, fear it, and trust it anyway, like a powerful coworker with a temper. As the night goes on, the fire burns lower. The warmth softens, conversations are slow, shadows grow longer and gentler. The flames stop roaring and start whispering. This is the part people like best, even if they don't say it. The danger has passed. The renewal has happened. What remains is comfort. You feel it in your bones, that deep heat that lingers even when you step away. The fire has done its job. It didn't cleanse everything. It didn't solve your problems. But it marked the moment. It made the night feel important. Eventually, someone announces that it's time to let the fire rest. No one argues. The embers glow, patient and quiet, like they'll be back whenever needed. You turn away, cheeks warm, eyebrows intact, thinking that for all its risks, fire is still the heart of the celebration. Because nothing says fresh start quite like standing next to something that could end everything and trusting it anyway. You notice people wearing masks, animal skins, and costumes that feel aggressively handmade. This is tradition. Dressing strangely confuses bad spirits and invites good fortune. You join in, wearing something itchy, while wondering why luck apparently responds well to nonsense. At first, you assume there's been some kind of emergency costume shortage. Then you realize this is intentional. Masks with exaggerated noses, animal horns strapped on with twine, fur worn in ways that suggest the animal did not consent to this arrangement. The goal is not beauty, the goal is confusion. Specifically, confusing anything unseen that might be lurking nearby with bad intentions and a poor attention span. The logic goes like this. If spirits don't recognize you, they can't mess with you. This is spiritual camouflage. You are not hiding. You are mislabeling yourself. You look ridiculous on purpose so that misfortune looks elsewhere, preferably at someone who forgot to wear antlers. You are handed a mask. It smells like smoke and history. Someone ties it on a little too tightly, nods with approval, and moves on. No mirror is offered. Mirrors are not part of the tradition because self-awareness is not helpful right now. Around you, people transform. Farmers become beasts. Neighbors become unidentifiable shapes with bells, feathers, and questionable accessories. Children take this extremely seriously, crouching and growling, fully committed to the idea that pretending to be a goat is an important civic duty. The costumes serve another purpose too. They blur social lines. When everyone looks strange, hierarchy softens. The Lord is still technically the Lord, but it's harder to feel intimidated when he's wearing a mask shaped like a rooster. For one night, the village becomes a crowd of anonymous figures, united by noise, fire, and deeply impractical clothing. You try to move naturally, but the costume resists. Something rubs where it shouldn't. Something else keeps slipping. You realize medieval luck rituals require a tolerance for discomfort. If the spirits are watching, they are definitely laughing. There are regional variations. In some places, people dress as wild men, covered in leaves and straw, embodying chaos so it doesn't follow them into the year. In others, they dress as animals associated with strength or fertility. In all cases, the craftsmanship is enthusiastic but uneven. Some outfits are impressive. Others appear to have been assembled 5 minutes ago using optimism and string. From a modern standpoint, this feels like a street festival that got out of hand. Imagine your neighborhood doing this now. Masks, horns, fur, no explanation. You'd assume a themed event or a very confusing protest. Here, it's just Tuesday night in the Middle Ages, and luck takes its job seriously. As the night goes on, the costumes loosen people up. Voices change behind masks. Laughter comes easier when no one can see your face properly. People dance more freely. They shout things they might not otherwise say. Anonymity is powerful, even when it's held together by twine. Eventually, the costumes begin to come off. Masks are lifted, horns are set aside, someone scratches furiously, finally free. The spirits, presumably baffled and defeated, have moved on. You feel lighter as you remove your own disguise. The nonsense worked. The year is safer now, or at least that's the agreement everyone silently accepts. You fold the itchy garment and hand it back, grateful for the warmth it gave and the luck it promised. As ridiculous as it was, it did something important. It reminded you that sometimes the best way to face the unknown is not with control or logic, but by putting on a mask, embracing the absurd, and trusting that luck appreciates the effort, even if it does itch. Food appears, a lot of it. Meat pies, bread, cheese, and something that smells like hope and regret. This feast is meant to ensure abundance in the coming year, but every bite feels like a gamble. You eat anyway because it's winter and you're not brave enough to ask questions. The tables are long, wooden, and already sticky before anyone sits down. Dishes arrive in waves, carried by people who look both proud and cautious. This is not casual eating. This is symbolic consumption. What you eat tonight is supposed to tell the universe that you expect to survive the next 12 months. Refusing food would be rude, pessimistic, and possibly cursed. You start with bread. Bread is safe. Bread is familiar. Bread is the emotional support food of medieval Europe. It's dense, heavy, and capable of blunting hunger for hours. You tear off a piece and chew slowly, assessing texture, taste, and your long-term prospects. Then came the pies, meat pies to be specific, though the definition of meat here is flexible. These pies are sealed, which is comforting, but also suspicious. You have no idea what's inside until commitment has already been made. This is like ordering a mystery entree, except the chef is history. Someone assures you it's good. This does not clarify anything. You take a bite. It's hot, salty, and surprisingly satisfying. You choose not to think too hard about what animal contributed to this experience. Protein is protein, and winter is unforgiving. Cheese follows. The cheese is strong. It announces itself before you reach it. Cheese in this era is less about subtlety and more about endurance. You cut a slice and immediately understand why it was aged. This cheese has been through things. You respect it and eat it carefully. There are vegetables technically, root vegetables mostly cooked until they surrender. Carrots, turnips, maybe something green that no longer remembers being green. These are here for balance, both nutritional and spiritual. Eating them is an act of responsibility. Then there's the dish no one explains. It's in a bowl. It's thick. It smells like spices and ambition. Someone ladles it onto your plate with confidence. You nod, because this is not the moment to appear delicate. You taste it. It's warm, complex, and just strange enough to be memorable. You decide it's best enjoyed without follow-up questions. Food safety as a concept is optimistic at best. Everything is cooked thoroughly, partly for flavor and partly out of fear. Spices are used generously, not just for taste, but to mask age, texture, and certain realities. You are grateful for pepper. You are deeply grateful for salt. The feast is loud. People talk with full mouths. They laugh between bites. Stories are told and retold. Eating is communal, rhythmic, almost ceremonial. The act of sharing food feels heavier than the food itself. This is about survival, not indulgence. From a modern perspective, this looks chaotic. No individual plates, no portion control, no clear sense of dietary restrictions. But here, abundance is the message. Full tables mean hope. Empty plates mean worry. You eat until you feel warm and slow, which is the goal. As the meal winds down, leftovers are carefully collected. Nothing is wasted. Bones will become broth. Bread will become breakfast. Cheese will continue being cheese. The feast does not end tonight. It echoes into the days ahead. You lean back, full and slightly uncertain about your decisions, but satisfied. The year has been fed. The future has been acknowledged. Whatever comes next, you've done your part. And if the food was a gamble, well, so is everything else. Ale and wine flow freely, partly for celebration and partly because clean water is still a rumor. Drinking is communal, encouraged, and occasionally mandatory. You sip carefully, knowing this beverage was brewed by someone who washed their hands emotionally, not physically. Someone presses a cup into your hand before you can politely decline. Declining would be strange, suspicious even. In medieval Europe, refusing a drink is like refusing a handshake while maintaining eye contact. It sends the wrong message, so you accept it, cradle it for warmth, and take a small, respectful sip. It's not terrible. It's cloudy, slightly sour, and warm in a way that suggests it has never known refrigeration. This is ale, and it is everywhere, brewed in homes, monasteries, and anywhere with grain and optimism. It's low in alcohol by modern standards, but high in confidence. People drink it daily. Children drink it. If it has bubbles and doesn't immediately make you ill, it's considered a success. Wine appears next, reserved for moments that feel important or expensive. It's thinner than you expect, sometimes sweet, sometimes sharp, and often watered down because even medieval people understand pacing. You don't drink wine to get drunk. You drink it to feel slightly better about existing. Alcohol here serves a practical purpose. Water sources are unreliable, often shared with animals, waste, and regret. Fermentation feels safer. It kills things you cannot see but deeply fear. Drinking ale is less about indulgence and more about risk management. You notice how drinking happens together. Cups are shared, toasts are made, people clink wooden mugs and wish each other health, prosperity, and fewer plagues than last year. No one drinks alone if they can help it. This is social glue, liquid reassurance. Someone insists you try a stronger brew, something spiced, something aged, something that burns a little on the way down. You cough politely and nod like this was the plan all along. The warmth spreads quickly, loosening shoulders and conversation alike. Stories grow longer. Laughter gets louder. Complaints become philosophical. Alcohol does what it has always done. It makes life feel briefly manageable. For people who work with their bodies, endure long winters, and expect very little from the future, this matters. From a modern perspective, this looks excessive. Drinking before noon, drinking because it's cold, drinking because someone else is drinking. But here, it's normal, structured even. Drinking marks time. It separates work from rest, old year from new. You pace yourself. You've learned enough tonight to know that confidence is dangerous. You alternate sips with bites of bread, grounding yourself in carbohydrates and common sense. Others are less strategic. Someone sings. Someone argues passionately about something that no longer exists. Someone naps sitting upright. There's no shame in this. This is the release. The year has been long. The future is uncertain. Tonight, warmth comes in liquid form. As the night deepens, drinking slows. Cups are empty and are not immediately refilled. Conversations soften. People lean closer to the fire. The alcohol has done its job. It carried everyone through the coldest hours and placed them gently on the other side. You feel it too, a calm heaviness, a quiet ease, not intoxication exactly, more like acceptance. You hand your cup back, grateful and intact. In medieval Europe, alcohol isn't an escape, it's infrastructure. And tonight it holds everything together just long enough to feel like hope. After eating, the future is consulted. Apples are peeled to predict marriages. Breadcrumbs are read for omens, and someone stares into a bowl with unsettling confidence. You learn that your future is vague but eventful, which feels deeply unhelpful. This is the moment when the room grows quieter, Not because people are tired, but because prediction requires focus. The future is fragile, apparently, and easily spooked. The plates are cleared, the cups are set aside, and attention shifts from survival to speculation. Someone produces an apple. It's peeled in one long, careful strip, the kind that requires patience and a steady hand. The peel is then tossed over a shoulder and examined closely where it lands. Its shape is studied like a message written by a distracted god. Does it resemble a letter, a loop, something that could be interpreted as a person? Someone nods gravely. This means something. Exactly what is not clarified. Elsewhere, breadcrumbs are scattered on the table and watched intently. Their arrangement suggests luck, hardship, or travel, or none of the above. Interpretation is flexible. What matters is confidence. The person reading the crumbs speaks slowly, like they're translating something ancient and mildly annoyed. You are gently pulled into the process. A bowl of water is placed in front of you. Someone peers into it, eyes narrowed, breathing slow. This person has decided they are qualified for this role. The bowl reflects firelight, shadows, and the faint outline of your face. This is apparently enough. They tell you your future holds change, possibly a journey, definitely something unexpected. You nod because this applies to everyone and feels safe. When pressed for details, they say it will be eventful. You thank them, unsure whether to feel excited or concerned. Fortune-telling here is not about accuracy. It's about reassurance. Life is unpredictable, but tonight, unpredictability has a script. Everyone gets a turn. Everyone hears something that makes sense if you tilt your head and squint. In some regions, people drop molten lead into water and interpret the shapes. In others, they pull random objects from a bag, coins, rings, twigs, and assign meaning. A ring means love. A coin means wealth. A twig means character development. From a modern perspective, this is personality quizzes with fire. Imagine reading your future from snack crumbs and feeling satisfied. But here, it works. The future feels closer, more personal, less terrifying. You notice how seriously everyone takes this, even while laughing. The ritual matters. It gives structure to uncertainty. It turns fear into something manageable, something you can joke about later. Someone's fortune is particularly dramatic. Gasps ripple through the group. This person pretends to brush it off, but you can tell it will live rent-free in their mind for months. That's the power of suggestion. That's the power of New Year rituals. As the night winds down, fortunes are tucked away like keepsakes. Some will be remembered, most will be forgotten. But for now, they do their job. You stretch, feeling oddly comforted. Your future may be vague, but at least someone looked at it on purpose. And in medieval Europe, that counts for a lot. In certain places, livestock are blessed, paraded, or spoken to respectfully. This is for prosperity. You nod at a cow, hoping that counts. The cow stares back, unimpressed and eternal. Animals are not background characters here. They are co-workers, assets, emergency savings accounts with legs. If the year goes well, it's because the animals are healthy. If the year goes badly, everyone looks at the animals like they failed a group project. So on New Year's, animals are included, sometimes ceremonially, sometimes awkwardly, sometimes because no one questioned the tradition hard enough to stop it. You watch as a farmer gently pats a horse's neck and murmurs something that sounds like encouragement mixed with negotiation. Another person sprinkles holy water near a pen, careful not to startle the goats, who already look offended by existence. This is meant to protect them from illness, bad spirits, and whatever else tends to wander through barns at night. In some villages, animals are led in small processions. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet walk, like a parade nobody advertised. Cows move slowly, aware that nothing good has ever followed enthusiasm. Sheep comply with the mild confusion of creatures who have accepted that humans are strange but consistent. You are encouraged to acknowledge the animals, not loudly, just respectfully. A nod, a soft word, a moment of eye contact that says, "I see you, please continue functioning." The cow you nod at chews thoughtfully and continues chewing. This feels appropriate. Prosperity does not rush. Animals are believed to sense things humans can't. Weather changes, illness, spirits. This makes them spiritually relevant, whether they asked for it or not. If an animal behaves oddly on New Year's, it's discussed in hushed tones. If it behaves normally, everyone relaxes. From a modern perspective, this feels deeply inconvenient. Imagine planning your year around how your refrigerator behaves on January 1st. But here, animals are the closest thing to stability. They don't lie. They don't speculate. They don't panic about calendars. There's also an element of gratitude in all this. Animals work, they pull slows, they provide milk, wool, meat, and traction. Acknowledging them once a year feels like the bare minimum. You notice how gently people handle them tonight. Movements are slower, voices softer. No one wants to upset the balance. This night is about care, not control. In some regions, animals are fed a little extra on New Year's, a symbolic gesture, a promise. Eat well now and we will all eat later. You approve of this logic. It's simple and mutual. As the night goes on, animals are returned to their stalls. The rituals end quietly. No applause, no declarations, just a shared understanding that the year has been properly introduced to the creatures who will carry it forward. You linger for a moment, listening to the sounds of breathing, shifting, chewing. It's grounding. Life continues, regardless of calendars. You give the cow one last nod. The cow blinks slowly, like it's storing the interaction for later judgment. And you realize something important. For all the superstition, all the noise and fire and nonsense, this part makes sense. Because in a world without guarantees, prosperity starts with what's right in front of you, even if it's unimpressed. If you're near a manor or castle, the nobility are celebrating with excess that borders on performance art. Music, roasted animals, and long speeches about generosity fill the hall. You are not invited inside, but you can hear it through the walls and feel emotionally judged. The sound travels first. Lutes, fiddles, and something being hit enthusiastically that was not designed for music. Laughter spills out of stone walls, thick enough to repel armies, yet somehow not thick enough to keep smugness contained. You stand outside, collar turned up against the cold, listening to wealth echo. Inside, the celebration is enormous. Tables bend under the weight of food, arranged not for efficiency, but for impact. Entire animals are roasted and presented intact, as if to say, "Look what we conquered." Candles burn by the dozen, because darkness is optional when you can afford wax. Servants move quickly and quietly, trained to exist without being acknowledged. The Lord is seated prominently, because of course he is. He wears fine fabrics that do not itch, shoes that fit, and an expression that suggests the year has been very good to him personally. When he raises a cup, the room quiets. This is not magic. This is practice. He gives a speech. It is long. It includes gratitude, faith, and a surprising amount of self-congratulation. He thanks the harvest. He thanks God. He thanks the people who made all this possible without specifying who they are or where they might be standing right now. You imagine explaining modern optics to him. You decide against it. The nobles applaud generously. They toast abundance, prosperity, and continuity. The future, according to this room, looks excellent. They believe this sincerely. Their version of risk involves politics, alliances, and inheritance, not weather or bread. From the outside, it feels surreal. You are celebrating the same new year, but in entirely different universes. Your celebration involves shared mugs and careful warmth. Theirs involves spectacle and insulation from consequences. And yet, the walls between these worlds are thinner than they look. The food inside comes from the same land. The labor comes from the same hands. The year will touch everyone eventually, even if it takes longer to reach velvet. You notice the contrast most clearly in the music. Inside, it is polished and practice. Outside, it is distant, distorted by stone and wind. It reaches you as fragments, a melody here, a cheer there, enough to remind you what you are not part of. There is resentment, yes, but also familiarity. This is how things are arranged. The nobles celebrate big because they can. The rest celebrate together because they must. Both are rituals. Both serve a purpose. At some point, the speeches end and the music grows louder. The feast continues deep into the night. Inside, the new year is welcomed with certainty. Outside, it is welcomed with hope and a practical understanding of limits. You turn away eventually. Listening too long feels like pressing your face to a window. You have your own fire, your own food, your own people. As you walk back toward the village, the sound fades. The cold returns. The world narrows again to what you can see and touch, and in that narrowing you feel something steady. Because while lords may celebrate differently, the year belongs to everyone, even if it pretends otherwise. New Year's gifts are exchanged, mostly food, coins, or promises. These gifts are meant to secure favor and luck. You give something modest and hope it reads as thoughtful, not desperate. Gift-giving in medieval Europe is not about surprise or delight. It's about signals, messages, carefully calibrated gestures that say, I acknowledge you, I respect the coming year, and I would like fate to notice that I am trying. You do not give gifts casually, you give them with intention, even if the intention is mostly anxiety. You check what you have, not much, no wrapping paper, no bows, just objects with weight and meaning. A loaf of bread, a small coin, a bit of cheese wrapped in cloth. These are acceptable, expected even. Extravagance would be suspicious. It might suggest you're compensating for something. You offer your gift with both hands. This matters. The exchange is slow, deliberate. Eye contact is made. Words are exchanged, but they're brief. Too much talking draws attention to the value of the gift, and that's dangerous territory. The recipient accepts it graciously, even if it's clearly the fourth loaf of bread they've received tonight. Gratitude is part of the ritual. Everyone understands the economy of effort. What you give reflects what you can spare, not what you want to show off. In return, you might receive something small, a coin pressed into your palm, a blessing murmured softly, a promise of help when the weather turns. These are not equal exchanges in a mathematical sense, but they are balanced emotionally. Promises are especially common. I'll help you with the fence. I'll watch your animals when you're sick. I'll speak well of you if your name comes up. These are future-oriented gifts meant to bind the year together before it begins. From a modern perspective, this feels like networking with candles. Imagine giving someone a muffin and saying, "This represents our continued mutual support." But here, it works. Community is currency. Memory is collateral. You notice that gifts move both up and down the social ladder. Peasants offer small tokens up to local officials. Officials offer protection in return. Lords give gifts that are technically generous but strategically distributed. Everyone participates, because opting out would be noticed. The smallest gifts often carry the most weight. A single apple, a pinch of salt, something scarce enough to matter. Giving it away is a statement. It says you believe there will be more. You hand over your gift and feel a familiar tension release. You've done your part. The year has been acknowledged. Whatever comes next, you didn't ignore the ritual. As the exchanges wind down, people tuck gifts away carefully. Nothing is opened immediately. This is not about consumption. It's about presence. The gift exists. It has been given. That's enough for now. You step back and watch the room. Hands clasp, shoulders touch. Quiet laughter moves through the space. The gifts have done their job. They've reinforced bonds, softened edges, reminded everyone that survival is shared. You look at your empty hands and feel unexpectedly calm. Giving something away didn't make you poorer. It made you lighter. And in medieval Europe, that might be the most valuable gift of all. The church steps in with prayers, blessings, and reminders about proper behavior. This happens after the chaos, not before. You listen respectfully, still holding a mug, because multitasking is timeless. The timing is intentional. The noise has faded. The fires have burned low. People are calmer now, receptive in that specific way that comes after shouting, eating, and drinking. This is when order re-enters the room, wearing familiar words in a steady voice. A priest clears his throat. The sound alone carries authority. Conversations soften. Someone nudges you gently, a reminder to face forward and look appropriately attentive. You adjust your posture, which is tricky with a mug in one hand and a lingering sense of warmth in the other. The prayers begin. They are long, measured, and comforting in their predictability. You don't understand every word, but the rhythm does the work for you. This is not about information. It's about reassurance. The church is here. The rules still exist. The universe remains structured despite everything that just happened outside. Blessings follow. They are directed at the people, the homes, the animals, the fields, and the year itself. Holy water is sprinkled with care, aimed like a gentle correction. You feel a few drops land on your sleeve and decide this counts as coverage. The message underneath is clear. Enjoyment is allowed, but within limits. Celebration is fine, but don't get ideas. The world is still arranged the way it was yesterday. Authority remains intact. Sin is still frowned upon, even if everyone pretends not to remember certain parts of the evening. From a modern perspective, this feels like the end of a party where someone suddenly turns the lights on and reminds you about your responsibilities. But here, it's expected. The chaos needed a bookend. The church provides it. You notice that no one resists. There's no eye-rolling, no dramatic sighing. People listen, some genuinely, some performative, but everyone understands the role this plays. Faith is not just belief. It's infrastructure. The priest speaks about the coming year, about humility, about obedience, about gratitude. These are familiar themes. They land softly now, cushioned by full stomachs and tired bodies. You take another small sip from your mug, careful not to slurp. No one comments. This is acceptable behavior. The church understands human habits better than it lets on. There's also a subtle negotiation happening. The church tolerated the noise, the costumes, the superstition. Now it gently reclaims the narrative. All that luck, God's will. All that protection, divine grace. All that chaos, human nature forgiven but noted. It's a balancing act that's been refined over centuries. Let people feel joy, then remind them where it's supposed to come from. As the prayers end, there's a collective exhale, not relief exactly, more like completion. The ritual cycle is closed. The year has been welcomed, properly, both spiritually and socially. People begin to move again, quieter now. Some cross themselves, some stretch, some yawn without apology. The night has done its work. You set your mug down and realize how tired you are, not just physically, but in a satisfying way. The kind of tiredness that comes from participation, from belonging. The church didn't stop the celebration. It absorbed it, reshaped it, and sent everyone back into the world with boundaries gently reattached. And as you step away, you understand why this part comes last. Because even in the Middle Ages, everyone needed a reminder to go to bed. Everyone watches the sky. Snow, wind, or sunshine are interpreted as signs of the coming year. You squint at the clouds like they owe you clarity. They do not. This is the quiet part of the night, when the noise has settled and attention drifts upward. The sky, vast and indifferent, becomes the final authority. People tilt their heads back, pull their cloaks tighter, and wait for meaning to reveal itself in the air. A clear sky is good. Too clear is suspicious. Clouds are acceptable depending on their mood. Snow is complicated. Gentle snow promises abundance. Heavy snow suggests hardship, but also protection for the soil. A wind can mean change, or chaos, or just wind. Interpretation is flexible, which helps. Someone points and says this is a sign. Another disagrees, gently, because this is not the time for arguments. You listen, absorbing opinions, like you're at a group astrology reading, except colder. Weather matters here because it's personal. It decides everything. Crops, travel, illness, survival. Predicting it feels like reclaiming a little control. If you can read the sky, maybe you can prepare for what it plans to do to you. You watch your breath fog in the air and wonder what that means. Probably something about endurance. From a modern perspective, this is forecasting without data. No apps, no radar, just experience, memory, and superstition. But it's not entirely foolish. People know patterns. They remember winters. They compare years. They notice things. A warm breeze on New Year's is hopeful. Too warm is unsettling. Cold is expected. Expected is comforting. You notice how people narrate the sky aloud, as if speaking it might fix it in place. This cloud means rain. That star means luck. The moon looks strong tonight. No one knows what that means, but it sounds reassuring. Children are encouraged to look too, to learn early that the sky is both a guide and a threat. They point excitedly, inventing meanings that are just as valid as anyone else's. Eventually, the watching ends. There's only so much you can get from clouds before your neck gets tired. The conclusions are drawn, loosely agreed upon, and stored away for later reference. You pull your cloak tighter and feel a strange calm. The sky didn't answer you, but it didn't reject you either. And sometimes That's enough. Because in medieval Europe, prophecy doesn't need certainty. It just needs something to look at. Traditional games break out: wrestling, racing, and contests with unclear rules. Someone gets knocked over, someone laughs too hard, and nobody files a complaint. You sit this one out, claiming an old injury you have not technically received yet. The shift is sudden. One moment, people are standing around, talking quietly, and the next, someone shouts a challenge. That's all it takes. A line is drawn in the dirt. A scarf is waved. The games have begun, whether anyone prepared for them or not. These are not organized sports. There are no teams, no referees, and absolutely no liability waivers. The rules, if they exist, are explained mid-action and revised as needed. Wrestling starts with good intentions and ends with someone eating snow. Races are short, intense, and fueled entirely by pride. You watch from a safe distance as two men grapple enthusiastically, slipping on frozen ground and laughing between grunts. This is not hostility. This is the release. Bodies that spend all year working get to move differently for once. Strength is tested. Energy burns off. The year is challenged physically just to see what happens. Children race each other until they collapse, breathless and triumphant. Adults join in, immediately regret it, and pretend not to. Someone trips, stands up, and bows dramatically to applause. Pain is real, but so is momentum. In one corner, a throwing contest develops. Nobody is quite sure what's being thrown or why. It's heavy enough to matter and soft enough not to kill anyone, which feels like the only requirement. Cheers erupt when someone wins, even though no one tracked points. From a modern perspective, this looks like chaos. Imagine a neighbor party where people spontaneously decide to wrestle in the street. Police would be called. Group chats would light up. Here, it's tradition. Controlled chaos, mostly. You are invited to join. Someone claps you on the back and gestures toward an open space. You smile and shake your head, patting your knee meaningfully. They nod in understanding. Everyone has an old injury on New Year's. Some of them are real. There is a brief moment where things get too intense. A shove is harder than intended. A voice raises. The crowd tightens. Then someone cracks a joke. Laughter breaks the tension, and the game continues. This is how conflict is managed, physically, briefly, and publicly. These games serve a purpose beyond entertainment. They reaffirm strength, hierarchy, and resilience. Who's still fast? Who's still strong? Who should maybe stretch next year? As the night wears on, the games slow, muscles tire, breath shortens. Victories become less important than sitting down. You notice how people congratulate each other, win or lose. The outcome matters less than participation. The year has been tested and found survivable. Eventually, the space clears. People wander off, rubbing shoulders, laughing softly, nursing bruises that will become stories. The ground is marked with footprints, scuffs, and the faint evidence of joy. You remain on the sidelines, intact and grateful. There's a certain wisdom in choosing rest over spectacle, because in medieval Europe, games aren't about winning. They're about proving you're still here. Singing begins. The melodies are familiar, the lyrics are long, and everyone else seems confident. You hum loudly, and hope enthusiasm covers ignorance. It usually does. The first note comes from someone who has clearly been waiting for this moment. It's strong, unembarrassed, and immediately joined by others. The sound swells quickly, filling the space between buildings and bouncing off stone walls. This is communal singing, which means volume matters more than accuracy. You recognize the tune. Of course you do. Everyone does. These songs are old, older than most of the people singing them, and they've been passed down the only reliable way available: repetition and peer pressure. The words, however, are another matter entirely. The lyrics stretch on, packed with verses that describe saints, seasons, battles, harvests, and at least one metaphor involving sheep. No one sings them exactly the same way. This is comforting. Mistakes are baked in. Tradition allows for flexibility. You start by mouthing shapes that look like words. Then you switch to humming. Then, emboldened by the general noise level, you sing a few confident syllables that may or may not be correct. No one notices. Or if they do, they don't care. Participation is the real requirement. Someone beside you sings with great emotion and very little regard for pitch. Another person harmonies beautifully, as if born for this moment. Children shout the chorus at irregular intervals, inventing lyrics when they forget them. It all blends together into something warm and human. These songs are not polished performances. They are memory exercises. They carry stories, beliefs, warnings, and jokes across generations. Singing them together reinforces identity. This is who we are. This is what we remember. From a modern perspective, this feels like being trapped in a group sing-along with no lyrics screen and no escape. But here, it's grounding. The repetition is soothing. The melodies rise and fall, predictably. Even when the words are unfamiliar, the rhythm holds you. You notice how singing changes people. Shoulders relax, faces soften. The tension left over from the year loosens its grip. Singing uses breath, and breathing together does something subtle but powerful. Some songs are slow and reflective. Others are loud and cheerful. One song seems to go on forever, cycling through verses like it's testing endurance. You commit to it anyway, because stopping would feel rude. Eventually, voices tire. Songs trail off mid-verse. Laughter fills the gaps. Someone starts another tune, then thinks better of it. The silence that follows is gentle, earned. You feel a quiet satisfaction. You didn't know the words, but you knew the moment. You were part of it. That counts. As people drift away, fragments of melody linger in the air, humming softly in your head. You'll forget the specifics by morning, but the feeling will stay. And in medieval Europe, that's the point. Because songs don't need perfect lyrics. They just need people willing to sing them. Food from the feast is saved carefully. Waste is bad luck. You wrap something in cloth and guard it like treasure, because it might be tomorrow's breakfast and lunch. The celebration winds down, but the work of the feast is not over. Plates are cleared slowly, deliberately. Nothing is scraped away carelessly. Every crust, every bone, every smear of sauce is evaluated for its future potential. This is not cleanup. This is planning. You watch as food is sorted with quiet efficiency. Bread goes into cloth bundles. Meat is wrapped and set aside. Bones are collected for broth. Even crumbs are swept up and saved, because crumbs add up and luck is watching. Someone hands you a portion. Oh, it's not large, but it's solid, some heavier than it looks. You wrap it carefully, tucking the cloth around it, like you're swaddling a newborn. This is tomorrow. This is security. Waste is more than impractical here. It's offensive. Throwing food away suggests arrogance, like you believe the future owes you abundance. The universe does not appreciate that tone. So everything is kept, repurposed, or promised a second life. From a modern perspective, this feels intense. Imagine leaving a party with a pocket full of leftovers because throwing them out feels morally risky. But here, food is memory. It reminds you that you ate well once, and you might again. You notice how people label their bundles without labels. A knot tied a certain way, a mark on the cloth. Everyone knows what's theirs and respects it. Theft on New Year's would be especially unlucky. No one wants that. Leftovers also carry meaning. Eating food from the New Year feast later is thought to extend the celebration, stretching luck across days instead of hours. Each bite becomes a quiet reminder that you started the year fed. You imagine tomorrow morning, cold, gray, work waiting. That leftover bread will matter. That piece of meat will matter even more. The thought is comforting. As the food disappears into bundles and baskets, the space changes. The tables are bare. The room feels larger, emptier. The feast has concluded properly, without excess or loss. You secure your bundle and feel its weight at your side. It grounds you. You are leaving with something tangible, something earned. People say their goodbyes softly now. Voices are low, movements are careful. The night has shifted from celebration to rest. You step outside, clutching your food like a contract with tomorrow. The cold bites, but you're prepared. You have sustenance. You have proof that tonight mattered. And as you walk home, you realize something quietly profound. In medieval Europe, leftovers aren't an afterthought. They're the plan. People vow to be kinder, work harder, pray more, and sin less. These resolutions are announced publicly, which feels risky. You resolve silently to survive winter. This is the moment when optimism makes a careful appearance, bundled in caution. The year has turned, whenever that officially happened, and now intentions must be stated, not written down, not tracked, spoken aloud, where everyone can hear and remember. Someone clears their throat and declares they will be more patient this year. A bold move. Another vows to attend church more faithfully. This is met with approving nods. A third promises to drink less, which is received with polite silence and a raised eyebrow. These resolutions are not about personal growth in the modern sense. There is no self-actualization here. They are about alignment with God, with community, with expectations. Announcing them publicly makes them binding. The village becomes your accountability partner. You listen carefully, aware that what you say now may follow you all year. Words have weight here. Promises are remembered. Failure is noticed. So when it's your turn, you hesitate. You could say something admirable, something ambitious, something that sounds good by firelight, but ambition has a way of backfiring in February. You choose caution, you nod, you smile, you say something vague, or you say nothing at all, which is also acceptable if done thoughtfully. Silence can be a resolution. Privately, you set your own goal. Make it through winter. Stay warm. Stay fed. Avoid illness. This feels achievable and deeply meaningful. From a modern perspective, these resolutions seem modest. No one is promising to reinvent themselves or learn a new language. But the stakes are different. Survival is not assumed. Improvement must be practical. You notice how people react to each other's vows. There is encouragement, but also realism. No one cheers wildly. No one claps. These are serious commitments, not motivational slogans. Some resolutions are seasonal. Work harder when the fields thaw. Be generous when you can. Pray for rain, but not too much. They are rooted in cycles, not calendars. As the moment passes, the mood shifts again. The declarations are done. The future has been addressed, at least verbally. That's enough for now. You feel a quiet sense of relief. You didn't overpromise. You didn't draw attention. You've set a goal you can carry without strain. People begin to drift away, carrying their intentions with them like tools they hope to use. Some will remember, some will forget. Some will adjust as reality intervenes, and that's understood. The year will test everyone. Resolutions will bend or break. What matters is that they were made sincerely, in good faith, under a shared sky. You step back into the cold, your private resolution intact. In medieval Europe, the bravest goal isn't self-improvement, it's endurance. You're told what not to do. Don't argue, don't lend money, don't clean too much. Everything affects luck. You freeze, unsure if blinking counts as a mistake. This is the part of the night where rules multiply quietly, like they've been waiting. Someone mentions one in passing, another adds a correction. A third remembers something their grandmother used to say, and now it's official. By the end of the conversation, existing feels risky. Don't sweep after midnight. You might sweep luck out with the dust. Don't bring anything out of the house before sunrise. Don't let the fire go out completely. Don't start the year with anger in your voice or empty pockets in your hands. Each instruction lands with the same gravity, regardless of how practical it sounds. You nod a lot. Nodding feels safe. Superstitions are not fringe beliefs here. They are daily maintenance, a way of managing uncertainty when certainty is unavailable. The year is new, fragile, easily offended. You treat it like a skittish animal. Move slowly, speak softly, avoid sudden gestures. From a modern perspective, this feels exhausting. Imagine starting the year convinced that folding laundry incorrectly could doom your finances. But here, the logic is consistent. Actions have consequences, even symbolic ones. You become hyper-aware of yourself. You avoid disagreements, even when someone misremembers a story you clearly heard earlier. You hold on to your coins, just in case lending one out invites scarcity. You resist the urge to tidy up, even though there's straw everywhere and it's bothering you. Someone asks if you're all right. You say yes, carefully. There's comfort in this, strangely. The rules provide structure. They tell you what to do, or rather, what not to do. In a world full of unknowns, boundaries feel like safety. You notice that these superstitions overlap and sometimes contradict each other. That's fine. Precision is not the goal. Intention is. You are showing respect to the year by being cautious. The universe appreciates effort. Children are reminded repeatedly of what not to do. They immediately do it anyway. Everyone pretends not to notice, because luck is flexible when it comes to children. As the night goes on, people relax slightly. The most dangerous window has passed. Midnight is behind you. The year has settled in. The superstitions still apply, but with less urgency. You exhale for the first time in what feels like hours. You survived the rules. You didn't argue. You didn't clean. You didn't accidentally doom anyone. You stretch slowly, just to be sure stretching is allowed. No one gasps. Goods. In the end, superstitions don't control behavior so much as they guide attention. They make you pause, reflect, choose gentleness over impulse. You realize that you've been careful, not just with actions, but with words, with tone, with presence. And that feels like a decent way to start any year. As people drift away to rest, the rules fade into the background. They'll return when needed. They always do. For now, you're allowed to blink. and luck apparently survives. Kids are indulged, blessed, and sometimes allowed to stay up late. They run wild, fooled by bread and excitement. You envy their energy and their shorter list of responsibilities. This night belongs to them in a quiet, unofficial way. Adults may control the rituals, but children are the emotional center of the celebration. They are the future, the insurance policy, the reason everyone is doing all of this in the first place. So they are treated gently, patiently, occasionally bribed with snacks. You notice it immediately. Rules soften around them. Bedtime stretch, voices lower when speaking to them. Someone presses an extra piece of bread into a small hand and pretends not to notice when crumbs appear everywhere. This is acceptable. Tonight, children are allowed to be noisy, messy, and very alive. They dart between groups, weaving through cloaks and legs, carrying sticks, bells, or absolutely nothing at all. Their laughter cuts through the cold air, sharp and unburdened. They do not worry about the year ahead. They do not interpret the sky or measure luck. They exist entirely in the moment, which feels like a rare skill. Some are dressed in miniature versions of the night's costumes, small masks, tiny cloaks, improvised horns. They take this seriously. Being part of the ritual matters. Being seen matters. They perform for each other, reenacting games, shouting fragments of songs, inventing their own traditions on the fly. Adults watch them with a mix of affection and fatigue. This is hope in motion. This is why fields are planted and animals are fed and winters are endured. Children represent continuation. If they are laughing, things must be working, at least a little. In many places, children are specifically blessed on New Year's. A hand on the head, a quiet prayer, a wish whispered close enough to feel warm. The intention is protection, health, a future that doesn't end too soon. You stand nearby, observing, feeling something softened in your chest. Their worries are small, immediate. Hunger, cold fingers, boredom. These problems can be solved quickly, which feels miraculous. From a modern perspective, this looks like letting kids stay up past midnight and giving them sugar. But here, it's symbolic. They are being welcomed into the year, included, not shielded, trusted to witness the rituals that shape their world. Eventually, exhaustion catches up with them. One by one, they slow down. Heads droop. Energy flickers. Someone is carried home, half asleep, clutching a crust of bread like a trophy. Another falls asleep where they sit, wrapped in a cloak far too large. No one rushes this. Sleep arrives naturally, gently. The night has been long, even for them. You feel the contrast sharply. Their day ends with being carried. Yours continues with responsibility, planning, survival. You envy them, but not bitterly, just quietly. As the last child is ushered away, the space feels different, calmer, heavier. The celebration has passed its peak. What remains is adult quiet, adult thought. But the laughter lingers faintly. It echoes in the mind, a reminder of why the year matters at all. You watch the door close behind them and realize something important. For all the superstition, all the noise and ritual, this part is the clearest. The future has already arrived, and it's tired, happy, and fast asleep. By the end of the celebration, everyone is tired, full, and emotionally satisfied. The fire burns low, voices soften, and someone is already snoring. You realize celebration and survival look very similar. The shift is subtle, but unmistakable. Energy drains from the room the way warmth slowly leaves embers. People who were loud an hour ago Now speak in half sentences. Laughter becomes a quiet exhale instead of a burst. The night has reached its natural conclusion. You sink down onto a bench or a bale of straw or whatever seems close enough and soft enough. Your body registers the hours all at once, standing, eating, laughing, watching, participating. This wasn't passive celebration. It required effort. Around you, others are doing the same mental inventory. Shoulders slump, boots are loosened, cloaks are pulled tighter. Someone nods off mid-conversation, and no one calls attention to it. This is allowed, earned. The fire is now more glow than flame. Someone tends it gently, not to revive it, but to keep it from going out too quickly. The warmth is steady, less dramatic. It feels like a hand resting on your back. You listen to the small sounds that remain. The crackle of wood, the shuffle of feet, a soft cough, breathing. These are the sounds of people who made it through another year and are ready to stop proving it. From a modern perspective, this feels like the end of a very long holiday gathering. The dishes are done, the music is off. Someone has claimed a couch. There's nothing left to perform. You can just be. But here, the exhaustion carries weight. It's not just tiredness, it's satisfaction. The rituals were completed. The year was welcomed properly. No corners were cut. No essential superstition ignored. You did what was required. You notice how peaceful it feels, despite the cold and the uncertainty waiting outside. For a brief moment, everything is aligned. The past has been acknowledged. The future has been addressed. The present is quiet. Someone nearby snores openly, apologetically. This is not embarrassing. This is a sign of trust. You don't sleep deeply unless you feel safe enough to let go. You stretch carefully, muscles stiff, joints reminding you of their opinions. You smile to yourself. This is the good kind of tired, the kind that says you were part of something. As people begin to drift away, goodbyes are whispered. No one wants to break the calm. Doors open and close softly. Footsteps fade into the night. You linger a moment longer, letting the warmth soak in as much as it can. You know once you step outside, the cold will return with authority. But you're ready. You stand slowly, feeling steady, full, quiet. And as you prepare to leave, it becomes clear. In medieval Europe, celebration isn't about forgetting how hard life is. It's about being tired together. The new year dawns cold and ordinary. Work resumes, animals need feeding, and nothing magical has changed. But somehow, everyone feels lighter. You stretch, take a breath, and step into the year, uncertain, underprepared, and still oddly hopeful. Morning arrives without ceremony. No bells, no shouting, no fire, just gray light slipping through cracks in wood and stone, landing softly on tired faces. You wake up stiff, wrapped in layers that shifted overnight, and for a brief moment you wonder if yesterday actually happened, or if it was just a very elaborate dream involving cheese and shouting. Then your body reminds you. Your legs ache. Your throat is dry. Your head feels slightly too full. Yes, it happened. You sit up slowly because speed is dangerous at this hour, and listen. The village sounds like itself again. Doors creak open. Footsteps crunch on frozen ground. Animals make impatient noises that do not respect holidays. The year may be new, but responsibilities are old and punctual. Outside, breath clouds the air. The sky is pale and indifferent. No signs, as no prophecies. Just winter, doing what winter does. Someone passes you and nods, not cheerfully, just solidly. A shared acknowledged, we're still here. Work resumes immediately because it has to. Animals need feeding whether or not luck was properly secured. Fires need tending. Water needs fetching. Fields, though frozen, still exist and will eventually demand attention. The rhythm of survival clicks back into place without asking how you feel about it. And yet, something is different. The weight you carried yesterday feels slightly redistributed, not gone, never gone, but adjusted. You move with a little more ease. Your shoulders sit lower. Your breath comes deeper. It's subtle, but unmistakable. From a modern perspective, this feels like the quiet morning after a big event. No confetti, no photos, just coffee and reflection. But here, there's no illusion that life has reset. No promises that things will be easier. Just the sense that you're not facing them alone. You pass by the fire pit from last night. Cold ashes, a few stubborn embers, evidence. You smile faintly. The rituals didn't fix anything, but they marked time. They drew a line between then and now. People move through their tasks with steady focus. No one rushes, no one complains much. The year is young. There's room for patience, for a little grace. You notice small kindnesses. Someone shares a tool. Someone offers a word of encouragement. Someone checks on an animal a second time, just to be sure. These gestures feel intentional, like echoes of promises made under firelight. Your leftover food is eaten thoughtfully, not devoured, appreciated. It tastes like continuity, like planning. As the day unfolds, the celebration fades fully into memory, but its effects linger. Confidence, familiarity, a sense that the future, while uncertain, has at least been acknowledged politely. You stretch again, joints, cracking in agreement, and face the day. It's cold, it's work, it's the same problems, lined up patiently, but you step into it anyway. Because in medieval Europe, hope doesn't come from change. It comes from waking up, doing the work, and believing quietly that you can handle whatever comes next. As the night finally releases medieval Europe and the cold morning settles in, it's time to gently step out of this borrowed life and drift back toward your own bed, your own century, and the quiet comfort of a world that no longer requires shouting at evil spirits to feel safe. You made it through a medieval New Year. You endured the noise meant to scare away misfortune, the fire that warmed and threatened at the same time, the superstitions stacked carefully on top of one another, and the food that demanded both courage and gratitude. You lived inside a calendar that refused to agree with itself, and watched people celebrate without certainty, plan without guarantees, and rest without guilt. And somehow, despite the cold, the hunger, and the constant possibility that everything could go wrong, they kept going. That's the quiet miracle of it. These people didn't expect the year to fix them. They didn't believe in instant reinvention or clean resets. They marked time the only way they could, by gathering together, eating what they had, making noise, trusting symbols, and then waking up the next morning to do the work anyway. They survived by sharing warmth, by saving leftovers, by trusting animals, neighbor, rituals, and routines that were older than memory itself. They believed that if you welcomed the year sincerely, tired, imperfect, but present, you might earn just enough luck to carry you forward. And that idea isn't as distant as it sounds. Because even now, a new year doesn't actually fix anything on its own. It doesn't erase the past or guarantee the future. What it does offer is a pause, a breath, a moment where you're allowed to acknowledge what you've made it through and decide quietly to keep going. So tonight, as you rest in clean sheets, with steady warmth and water that doesn't fight back. Take a moment to appreciate how far things have come, and maybe also appreciate what hasn't changed. The need for rest, the comfort of routine, the quiet hope that tomorrow can be handled, one task at a time. History may be cold, uncomfortable, and deeply suspicious of food safety, but it's also proof that people are resilient, communal, and stubbornly hopeful in the face of long odds. So let your body rest now. Let your thoughts slow. The work can wait until morning. Your ancestors did their part to get you here. And tonight, you've done enough too. Okay, good night.